Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you all for joining us on another edition of DAX Machina. We've got a full house tonight. Robbie Jed Raines is with us from South Carolina, assuming the storms don't take him out. He's got a line of thunderstorms going through his area, so if he either goes dead silent or disappears, y'all know what happened. We got Kerry Pocket Doc Davis in the house. He's out in Colorado, where the men are many and the sheep are nervous. And we got Steve Wildman Monrotis in the house. It's been a while since we've had a Steve sighting. They work him like a rented mule over at the hospital, and we're just glad we got him tonight. And joining us in the studio tonight, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Bigfoot, If you guys are not familiar with the Bigfoot Report, you should check it out. All the links are below in the description of the chat, and they'll be popping up from time to time. But we got Wayne and Tiffany from the Bigfoot Report. I've been on their show a couple of times. I know both of them really well. But I've actually got to hang out with Wayne in person at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, and he is going to be there again this year at the, again, what is that thing called? Spirit of the Forest?
Yes, sir.
Spirit of the Forest. In October. So if you guys are going to be in the Ohio area, want to hang out with us idiots and maybe throw back a few glasses of bourbon, or if you're going to be in Missouri in October, we'll also be at a convention here in Missouri as well. So mark your calendars, and we hope to see you guys there. Wayne, Tiffany, tell us a little bit about yourselves, introduce yourselves. We are going to be throwing your links up in the chat from time to time. We've got it set up, and with the mods, you can use the hashtag, the exclamation guest command to put up their links anytime you want. So
Tiffany, ladies first.
Well, as you can see, you can't see. I have reloaded and rebooted and redone everything, but you can hear me, so we're good. I have been with Wayne, and it was Paranormal Odyssey first, and we rebranded. I've been with him for 2 years, and it has been phenomenal. We talk about all kinds of cool stuff on our show. It's amazing.
All right. Yeah. As Tiffany said, we started out as Paranormal Odyssey. I took that show over for Mr. Brian King Sharp, who is the host of Sasquatch Odyssey, the widely crazy successful Bigfoot show, Bigfoot podcast, probably the third or fourth largest in the world Bigfoot podcast. He and I become great friends, past friends, when he invited me on his show, and he eventually asked me to take over one of his shows, Paranormal Odyssey, which he just didn't have time to do anything with. So I was happy to do that. I was introduced to Tiffany. She became my producer and then quickly became my co-host. And yeah, we've been doing that for a while now. I also run a Bigfoot research organization called Manimal Research, manimalresearch.org, if you would like to check it out. That's just a little bit about us.
Well, I've got a question for both of you. And you can, whichever order you want to go, ladies first, Wayne first, however you want to do this. What got you started in this field?
Go ahead, Tiff.
I have always been fascinated with this, probably since the age of 12. My dad introduced me to UFOs and Bigfoot and Harry and the Hendersons. And Harry and the Hendersons became one of my all-time absolute favorite movies. And I wanted a Harry. I always wanted a Harry. But then, life goes on, and, you grow up, and I never lost that interest, but it did lean more towards Bigfoot as opposed to UFOs. So, I was working an awful job when I was approached by Wayne and Brian. I quit that awful job and started doing this, and it's been the absolute best thing. So I have, 2 books out, Dogman in the Woods and The Unfamiliars. They started off as episodes for the podcast, turned into books with Hanger One Publishing. And fun thing, because that's how I am, I completely wrote a whole nother half of each of those books so the podcast could have a different ending than the book that you purchased.
So where do we get the books?
You can get them anywhere you buy your favorite books. You can get them hangaronepublishing.com, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com. Those are the most well-known places.
Yeah. I'm going to have to add those to my collection.
Well, I would love that. So yeah, but that's where I started, and I plan on staying. So good Lord willing.
All right. Well, I guess I'll take it from here. As far as me, growing up as a kid in the 80s, I saw 9 months of the 70s. I was born in 79. So that's all I saw of the 70s. So 80s and 90s is when I grew up. And I remember going to the library as a kid in elementary school. Every time I saw a book on Bigfoot, Chupacabra, Loch Ness Monster, all of that stuff, I was checking it out every chance I got. I was hooked on all of that stuff. So I've always really been interested in all of the weird, and Bigfoot especially. Bigfoot is king. Everyone knows that. When I got old enough, life goes on. You become interested in more things, and just stuff happens. So fast forward a good long while ahead. I am working. I have a hour commute to and from, so a 2-hour commute to work. My radio goes out in my car. So I borrow a truck from my dad, one of his spare vehicles, to get me back and forth to work. And as my luck dictates, like the second day, the radio goes out on this truck that I'm borrowing from dad. So I have nothing to listen to for 2 hours of my day. 10 hours, hour there, work 8 hours, hour back. 2 hours, I have nothing to listen to. That's when I discovered podcasts. And I started looking for stuff that I was interested in. And I found a show that talked about all kind of weird, crazy ghosts, cryptid, just weird stuff. And I loved it. And it was Monsters Among Us. Still listen to that show. But I found myself wishing that everyone would just shut up and get back to the Bigfoot stuff, because that's what I was interested in. So I started looking, and lo and behold, I found a podcast dedicated to nothing but Bigfoot. I mean, who would have thunk it? And everybody knows what that show is. It's Sasquatch Odyssey. Or Sasquatch Chronicles. I'm sorry, Sasquatch Chronicles. And I start binging the hell out of it. And that's where I learned that there are people that actually go out and look for these things. I had no idea. I had always
call those folks idiots.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, me too.
See, I think
we're all guilty as charged on that one.
But I had no idea that people were doing that. And especially in my area, I'm in Southeast Tennessee. And I mean, I was hearing all of these encounters. I'm listening to an episode of Sasquatch Chronicles one time. There's this gentleman that comes on. He's talking about he lives in Tennessee, so that gets my attention. He says, I live in a small town about 45 minutes north of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I live in a small town about 45 minutes north of Chattanooga. And he starts talking about all this stuff, and it just starts just clicking. He's talking about a place that I've been. It's a place that he has seen a Bigfoot at. And I have been to this place 2 or 3 times. And it just clicks. Like, he's talking about the same spot. So all of this stuff just kind of comes together. People are doing this. They're out looking. And I just decided to go for it. I was going to do the exact same thing. And that's how my group, Manimal Research, was founded. So that's how I got my start.
Well, that's fairly common amongst most of us. Is just what point in our life did we pick it up? I've been doing it since about 1975.
Wow.
I'm a little older than you, though. You could probably tell. But going out in the woods has always been something I've been passionate about. I grew up going out in the woods, hunting and fishing and camping and hiking trails. And I'm an Ozarks hillbilly, born and bred. And if there was something you could find to do outdoors, I'm going to find it when I was a kid. And just kind of evolved into that after I first saw the Patterson-Gimlin film. And yeah, it gets in your blood, especially after you have something happen that cannot be explained any other way.
Yeah.
It's like this itch that you just have to continuously scratch,
Generally when somebody has some sort of encounter, one of two things happened. Either they're the type of person that never, ever wants to set foot in the woods again, or it becomes almost what's the word I'm looking for? Almost a
compulsion.
Yeah, almost a compulsion. It's like they're compelled to just keep looking for it. And that's kind of what's going on with me and Steve and Doc and even Robbie. I mean, we all had something happen at some point that now we're just dying to know more.
Yeah, I mean, mine was the paranormal is what got me. And then after meeting DA virtually and us talking, since 2012, I finally had my first encounter, last fall?
January, wasn't it?
Was it January? Yeah, it was January, wasn't it?
It was just January this year.
Yeah, it's a warm January.
Yeah. And so, it's one of those things that I never was skeptical of it. I knew there were things out there, but I'll tell you what, as Robbie says, or heard me say, there he is. Paranormal don't lie. Robbie's got the rain falling on him. Sounds like.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, do what you got to do. Improvise, adapt, and overcome, brother.
Yeah. When in doubt, use the Wi-Fi in the patrol car.
That's right.
I mean,
in typical Robbie fashion, brute force and ignorance.
straight ahead.
Just like I learned in the military, if it don't fit, hit it with a BFR. If it breaks, I need to replace it anyway.
It seemed appropriate for hanging out with y'all.
You know what a BFR is, right? Big fucking rock.
and
WD-40 that was our motto on the Army. If it don't fit, hit it with a BFR. If it breaks, need it replacing anyway.
WD-40 and 100-mile-an-hour tape. If
That's
it
right.
if it moves and it shouldn't, 100-mile-an-hour tape. If it shouldn't move and it should, WD-40. So
100-mile-an-hour tape.
It's like military grade duct tape. It really is.
Oh,
but they call it 100-mile-an-hour tape because you can, and I've seen this done. You can tape the hood down on a deuce and a half and do basically 100 miles an hour, and it stays.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. You can.
It's like duct tape on steroids.
You can patch up bullet holes in a Blackhawk too.
That tape is very versatile.
Yeah.
Where do I get that tape?
The Army surplus will have it, or you can go on uscav.com.
Is that like Gorilla Tape? I mean,
It's stronger. Yeah.
It's like pharmaceutically enhanced Gorilla Tape, man. It's like Gorilla Tape on meth.
Don't put it on your skin unless you intend it to stay there.
Don't.
Because when it comes off, it's taking some shit with it.
Yeah. There will be DNA.
Yeah.
There will be DNA.
Don't put it. When you got a big old luxurious beard, don't put it in that son of a gun. Not unless you want to look like a patchwork quilt or a dog with the mange.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had to case the mange.
Look like a ringworm.
Ringworm.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris Burkhardt, 100-mile-an-hour tape and 550 cord. They are in my truck.
Put aircraft back together with that shit.
Correct.
That's funny.
Had a
It
few
will
cars that
hold.
held together with that shit.
Yeah, it will hold. Faux show.
You know, it'll do a decent enough job taping the strut on an '86 Chevy Caprice to get you home.
That seems
Steve?
awful specific.
That sounds like
Yeah.
that comes from experience there, Steve.
Yes, you
Well,
may have done that.
My best friend in high school was a Marine, and he was an interesting dude. He and I used to get together. He was a year ahead of me. We'd get together. We'd build computers and stuff. It was back when we thought the 486 was like the shit. And he had just been accepted to the Corps. He did his first year of the Corps, did his basic and his AIT, and then 2 months before graduation, he was killed in a car accident.
Oh,
And didn't get to ship out. But I was going out to a place called Wolf Creek with him, just to hang out with some friends at a bonfire. Pretty much all the dudes that play Dungeons and Dragons and video games, the cool crowd. And I hit something in my Caprice, and part of the undercarriage wasn't right after that. And he was following me, and we crawled up under it and taped it with some of the damn tape. And we made it about 20 miles back, without it causing any trouble.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Till we could get it up on some jacks and actually fix it for real.
Yeah.
good times.
Well, he didn't have any crayons because he ate them all. So,
Well, typical Missouri potholes. It's they double as swimming pools in the summer.
You can take the trauma plate out of your plate carrier and wrap about 5 layers of the 100-mile-an-hour tape on it. It's instant spalling plate. It's an instant spalling pad.
I didn't think about that. That's good.
It works pretty good too.
Yeah.
So that upgrades it about 2 armor classes too, doesn't it?
Just about.
Yeah, thereabout. Damn.
You ever crack your ceramic plate, wrap the shit out of it with 100-mile-an-hour tape?
I need some of this tape, y'all.
It's good stuff, man. That is the best stuff to take in the field.
Really nice, Clark.
If you tear your pants and you pull off a chunk of that and slap it over the tear, odds are real good it ain't coming off without taking some more fabric with it.
I mean, I jumped with it. Everything was dummy corded down with 550 cord and 100-mile-an-hour tape. And I never was a yard sale coming out of a C-130 over a drop zone, so that's a good thing.
I cut my leg open on some concertina wire one time, put about a 4-inch gash in my thigh, pulled my pants down to my knees, took a piece of the 100-mile-an-hour tape and slapped it over the wound, and then put a piece on the inside of the cut on my pants and a piece on the outside of the cut and smacked them together, finished the FTX. We were out in the field another 28 days.
Hell yeah. Oh my God, that's like medical shit.
Oh, yeah, just taking it off is what sucks.
Yeah, I bet that part really sucked.
Imagine taking off a Band-Aid that you put on with super glue.
Oh shit.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's much stronger adhesive.
It's good.
Mm.
I want to take a second real quick and give a shout out to my buddy Pete, who's in the crowd tonight. Pete just moved to this area from Chicago, and he's the one that hooked me up with this.
Hell yeah.
For those of you who are those of you who partake in the bourbonage, this is a Missouri-made bourbon, and I'm going to be trying it here in just a few minutes. What you got there, Wayne?
This is some Traveler.
Ooh.
I've really, really been enjoying the Traveler made by Buffalo
Trace.
Yeah, it is Chris Stapleton's. He has gotten with them and collaborated and come up with his own bourbon, and it's pretty freaking good. I'm liking it.
My next acquisition for bourbon, hopefully, is going to be a bottle of Elmer Tea.
I'm not familiar.
Elmer T. Lee.
Elmer T. Lee. It's a limited batch, small batches, and it is some very smooth bourbon.
It's good stuff.
Nice.
It's a good thing Doc's already here, because when I pop this cork, he's probably going to appear behind me. Did you hear it?
Oh,
I hear my bat signal.
You pop a cork, it's like summoning Doc.
Yeah. Do it again, Jay. Do it again.
Oh, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm splashing a touch in my glass. All right, here we go. Ready?
Splashing the touch.
All right.
All right.
The first official taste.
What we got? What we got?
Smells good. It's got a good note to it.
I smell apricots and dark chocolate and seizures.
No, I smell bourbon, jackass.
He said apricot.
Dude, that is really smooth.
Thank you, Kathy. Good to be back. Good to be seen.
That's a good smooth bourbon.
It smells of cigars and detox. Allegedly.
That's a quality product, Clark.
That's right.
Ain't that right, Robbie?
Really nice, Clark. Really nice.
Oh, we had a question up in the chat a little while ago.
Wow.
A little bit of while ago. Started drinking. No, Lene was asking what a Spalling plate was. So when you shoot a steel plate with a lead bullet, you don't end up with a whole bullet. It tends to shatter and go flying everywhere. They call that Spalling. And if you're wearing the plate when it happens, there's a good chance that the Spalling is going to go up into your chin or your arms or your buddy.
And picking little chunks of metal out your face.
And that's especially true with a steel plate, with like ceramic or polyethylene armor like they got nowadays. Not so much of a chance, but definitely, yeah. What Steve said, yeah, you end up with an impromptu face and brow lift.
It's a fancy term for shrapnel.
Yeah. So I shot a steel plate with a 9mm round at about 50 feet, not realizing you shouldn't shoot directly onto a mounted plate. And it spalled and literally cut my thumb 50 feet away. I still got a scar on it. And that was my lesson. About a month later, my buddy who was shooting the same damn plate had a 5.56 round go into his leg. And so he had to do a little bit of field surgery because, of course, he didn't want to report a gunshot wound at the hospital. Yeah. So he and another nurse were fixing it. Yeah,
I had to. I took care of people who had spall in them from the 10 mil round because they were at the SIG range days years back. They were shooting at the plate at 15 yards instead of the plate at 25 yards where we had placed it, and they were angling it. And one of our guys caught a bunch of it in the back of his head, and another dude caught it in his face. And I was like, "Yeah, let's move that back," because they loaded that ammo just right. It was solid.
Yeah. Normally, when you see plates on a range now, they're either free swinging or they'll be tilted. You know, if you're shooting from this direction, it'll be tilted so it ricochets down.
They were still tilted down, but they were shooting at a dangle, and so.
Good luck they didn't get hit in the dangle.
Yeah.
At a dangle?
At a dangle. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was bad. It was bad. I was like, no, don't do that. Please.
Take a spall to the wedding tackle. Ruin that day of fun. And several others.
Hit you right in your twig and berries.
Your twig and berries. I was going to say it.
Why is he singing falsetto all of a sudden? I don't know.
Morning, Jim. How's the twig and giggleberries?
Twig and giggleberries, yep.
I don't have that problem, so.
Tip is twig and barrel less.
Exactly.
Well, that's why we were so reluctant to send women into combat, Tiffany. It's like y'all have a natural advantage.
Yeah, but nobody wants to take a round in the pelvic girdle. Nobody.
Yeah, because
that is a heavy bleed area. You can bleed out quick.
That's a bad day.
Vascularity.
It's the no-no square.
Yeah, that's a big no-no square. And I guarantee you guys, even though I am not equipped with things that you guys are, it doesn't feel any better.
Well, but internally, internally we're all the same. You know, we're arterial circulation and everything. So that's the pelvic girdle.
Blood stays in the body. That's just science.
I'm a man nurse. I can say it. So yeah. Me and Steve are immersed.
Circulation.
We're immersed. Yes. Yep. Male nurse.
This interview is not going anywhere near what I thought it would go.
You never know what it is.
Rarely it does.
There's a topic. There is always a topic. Whether or not we stick to it,
yeah,
that's up in the air.
this is ops normal for us for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trying to, throw a rope on it and drag it back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the event you've got planned for LBL this year.
Oh, hell yeah.
Kibble.
Yeah, the event that we have coming up at the LBL, this is our 5th annual East Tennessee Squatch Out. I say East Tennessee because that's where I'm at. That's where the first few were held, so that's where we're based out of, is East Tennessee. But this one is actually going to be held at the Land Between the Lakes. And I am super, super stoked to be doing that this year. I mean, we went up there a few weeks ago and scoped out the area, and it was amazing. We had a blast. It was a great time. Y'all know all of the legend, the lore that comes out of that area. I'm sure you do. The Dogman reports, the Bigfoot reports. I can't wait. I can't wait to get up there and to talk a little bit about my event, the Squatch Out. What we do is we do a 3-night camp out. The first night, we're going to have Miss Naoma Finn. She is a very, very dear friend of mine.
Awesome lady.
You know her too, DA.
Once or twice.
She is awesome at what she does. The first night, she is going to lead a campfire storytelling event, and she did it a couple years ago at one of my events, and it was amazing. It was great. So we just have all of us gathering around this big ass bonfire, and Naoma tells us stories like from the area and stuff. I mean, it's so much fun. It's great. We do that from about 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock p.m. So that's Friday night. We have decided this year, since we have 4 speakers, we're going to break it up. We're going to do 2 speakers on Saturday and 2 speakers on Sunday. And we haven't decided the order yet. I'm sorry. I can't announce that just yet. But we're going to have Miss Mary Ann from Missouri that is putting on the Ozark Conference. She is coming down to be a speaker for one of our nights. We also have a member of Manimal Research, which is the organization that I founded, David Zagan, also known as Bigfoot Forensics. He is an actual forensics examiner or forensics detective in Georgia and the Atlanta area. He can't say which one he works for, but he is known as Bigfoot Forensics. So he's one of our speakers. So we have those 2, Marianne, David, and then we also have Elijah Henderson. Anyone that's familiar with the LBL and all the stuff that he and his dad used to do, he's going to be awesome. I can't wait to have him. Also, Mr. Mike Smith. He is someone that has experienced several things from the LBL, so he's going to be a speaker as well. We're going to provide a couple of meals. We're going to feed you on Friday night, on Saturday night and on Sunday night. We're going to provide a meal. We have a couple of campfire cooks that they're scout leaders, so they are going to feed us, everyone, on those evenings, and it's going to be a great time. We always have an amazing time for the Squatch Out. Again, that's going to be Labor Day weekend this year, and a 3-night camp out. If you are interested in attending, please contact me directly on Facebook, and I will get you set up.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Dang.
It's going to be great.
Wish I could be there. Damn.
I wish you could.
I know, man. I wish I
LBL that's a whole different ball game.
I want to go to the LBL so bad, but it's 7 hours.
I spent a week there a couple years ago.
That's like a 2-day drive.
It was a good time, and I had a sighting.
Yeah, I was going to say, DA, you had some stuff that you could speak about, right?
He sure did.
Yeah, I learned a lot of valuable lessons in the north part of LBL. The most valuable of which is not to go to DeMumbers Bay at 2 a.m. by myself and play predator calls. Learn that lesson. That ain't happening again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he needed
you know,
a priest with him.
there's a pattern here. You know, I've noticed that when any group of y'all get together, there's always somebody, even if it's a person by themselves, that makes some kind of an animal call they shouldn't, and shit gets interesting.
Robbie,
I said if you'd had Robbie with you, then but it was Doc.
Out here too.
I did the same thing when I was at LTL.
I have not had the balls to do it. I've got that Bluetooth speaker ready when I got one of you guys here. I want to go out to Moon Valley and play that howl.
Yeah.
Wayne, you want to hear the howl?
I would love to hear the howl.
Yeah,
This was recorded about 5 or 10 miles from Robbie's house just earlier this year.
Yeah,
Here we go.
that.
Here we go.
Holy shit.
That was recorded just down the road from Robbie's house by a Ring doorbell camera.
Exactly.
In South Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Up in was that northwestern South Carolina, Robbie?
Yeah, northern Pickens County.
Yeah.
And Robbie's outside sitting in his car just a few miles down the road from that spot. I'm half waiting to see a big dog head in the window behind him peering in.
SBR right here.
Hillary, I do not want to go to the freaking dollhouse. No, that is a no-no zone for me.
Ain't got that. Nope.
Yep. Doc wouldn't even look at it.
Nope.
What? Wayne,
The locals say, though, if you drive by that dollhouse at night, that little doll village, and if you look at that village when you go by at night, if you go back by again, they'll be moved.
Oh.
we couldn't tell because Doc drove by at Mock.
Yeah,
Jesus
Doc didn't slow down. He went by Mock Jesus.
Mock Jesus.
Mock Jesus.
Yeah, dogs are a big no for me.
DA
I
Wayne
No.
and Tiffany hadn't really heard of our latest foray from Moon Valley, where we what
Well,
Steve
we
was
told you a
talking
little
about.
bit about Moon Valley when we talked to you before, Wayne,
That's
when
what
we
it
were
was,
hanging out up in
Valley.
when we
you
were
played
hanging
your
out up
call,
in
both the dogs came running into me.
when we told you a little bit about Moon Valley when we were up in Ohio. We went back. We went back in January of this year, and back in 2020, there you can look this up. Look up Dallas County cannibals. There are 2 old boys arrested for abducting and eating folks,
Oh.
and
Oh my.
that's right there in the valley. Well, even before then, the valley was there's a lot of weird shit goes on in Moon Valley,
You think?
I'd love to meet
and
you.
lots of sightings of like Bigfoot dating back to when that was Osage land, and a lot of weird stuff in that valley. And that night we went down there. It was in January. It was cold, and I did the tongue pop. I did the tongue pop for you, didn't I, Wayne?
I don't know. I don't remember. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you did.
I can do that really loud out in the woods. And I did that. It echoed down the valley, and we thought we got a response, but we weren't really sure. And then we tried. Which one? What did we do next?
I did the
Was
owl.
that the owl?
Yeah,
That's
Doc
right.
did the owl
Doc
call.
did an owl call that's not an owl from our area. It was like a West Coast owl, and that got ignored. So then we tried doing some like whoops, and kind of thought we heard something. We weren't sure. And then Robbie did a wolf howl, and
I
it
did the-
wasn't.
Oh, okay, you said I did the whoop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did did a whoop and then the wolf howl. And when after the wolf howl, I think that pissed something off because we had stuff just come in on us.
Well,
And
we had the owl call right back, DA. Remember?
Yeah.
Immediately after Robbie did that wolf call.
after the wolf call, we get the same owl call back at us. And owls don't answer wolves. They just they don't, especially an owl that's not local. So we got that exact same owl call back, and then just a few minutes later, we were hearing movement in the trees. And Doc gets the thermal out, and he's trying to get images on thermal. He says, "I think there's something on the far side of the road." So Robbie and I start moving. We were parked in the middle of a concrete bridge in the middle of the river, just a low water bridge. And Robbie and I start heading up toward where Doc had seen the heat signatures. And we got about 40, 50 yards from the vehicle. And Robbie and I are like hands on pistols. We're not drawing at this point. We've got our hands on our pistols. And Doc says, I've got something back there. And he tells me where it's at. I said, all right, I'm going to try turning my headlamp on. So he drops the thermal and I flip the headlamp on. And we immediately see two very broad-shouldered, conical head duck back behind the trees. And
Green
that was
eye
within
shine.
about 30 yards of us.
Yeah, green
And
eye
we saw both of them. Green eye shine. And then we start, Robbie and I start moving a little closer. And I turned the light back off so Doc could go back on the thermal. And no sooner he got back on the thermal, he's like, back up, back up, back up. There's one kid in behind you.
Oh, shit.
And so I drew, Robbie drew. Robbie's pointing at the two we saw, and I'm pointing toward the parking area where the third one was coming up behind us. And Robbie and I did a quick backup, just walking backwards, keeping our weapons up as we got back to the vehicle. And at that point, they were literally trying to cut us off from the vehicle so we couldn't get back.
Yeah, I saw the one coming around to the right. There were still two out in front of them, and I saw one come out to the right on my thermal because I've got PVS 31s and I've got a clip-on thermal imager on there, and so night vision dual tubes with a thermal imager on there, and I had my pistol out with. It has a night vision optic setting on there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was covering down on them as they were making their way back to me and Noah, because Noah and I were on the bridge holding rear security there while they went forward. And
Noah was the only one smart enough to grab a long gun. The rest of us had pistols.
But that freaked me out because it was like they were trying to put us in a pincer maneuver and do a little flanking on us and split us. And so that showed some intelligence there, some sentience, and so we got back in the SUV that I had, and we unasked the AO post haste, as Doc Holliday would say, most expeditiously. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Now, are y'all talking about Bigfoot or Dogman?
Those were Bigfoot, but we got the violent response when Robbie did the wolf howl in their territory.
Dude,
And let's be clear, I wasn't mimicking. I wasn't trying to sound like an actual wolf.
Shit.
It was more or less like what you just heard on.
The night we played the shofar down in the valley, we got howls back, but they never got close.
See that area where they were, Wayne and Tiffany, is a hotbed for both Dogman and Bigfoot sightings. So some of the cryptozoology community think that it's kind of some disputed territory between the two, and
there's a pissing contest going on, basically.
Basically, all the legends that you hear from every culture says the two don't like each other.
Yeah.
And so basically, when Robbie let out his not a wolf howl, he pretty much, whipped his wedding tackle out to see what was going to respond to it. And Bigfoot didn't want to measure. And so
they followed us out of the valley too, all the way up to Bennett Springs.
Yeah, and you guys hear that a lot in the LBL. You hear the Dogman stay to the north, and then the Bigfoot stay to the south.
Yeah,
and I don't know how much to make of that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the night that I was in the LBL on the northern side, I'm pretty sure we were surrounded by a couple of Dogmen because that. And I think I told you the story when we was in Ohio, Wayne, because I think that was when we were sitting at the table. I talked about my future son-in-law, my daughter, and I'm almost 100% sure that was a Dogman encounter.
Well, see, and that's what I've always said is that there has to be some kind of not rules, but because they're on the same ground. And I mean, that's how I wrote it in Dogman Tear in the Woods. I wrote them having, angst with each other over the property.
Well, look at any other big predator. If you've got a mountain lion that's hunting in an area that's being hunted by a pack of wolves, they will get into it over kills.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and we've noticed in this area specifically, we seem to have the best response to things when we're effectively challenging something, whether deliberately or inadvertently. You know, the first photographed encounter that we had, we didn't realize we'd had at the time. You know, between D and I was when, you know, we're out filming some footage for one of his books, and you know, being a moderately obese middle-aged diabetic, I had to piss, and so I peed on the tree and then left. Well, we ended up later discovering that when we took some video of that tree, there was what we suspected was a dogman hiding behind it, trying to check out who they
like
knew.
that sweet pee-pee smell, right?
That was at Joe Ball, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it was at Joe Ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right where we were that night, Doc, when we felt.
Yeah, that we were getting paced.
I've heard y'all talk about Joe Ball so much. I wanna freaking go so bad.
You'll like that and Combs Ferry.
Combs Ferry.
That's also where Robbie found the hunting blind, wasn't it? There, Joe Ball.
Yep. Joe Ball
And a 7-inch track,
Hey,
canine track.
Where's the place where I did the freaking J-turn?
That was down Blanc Road.
Yeah, where I Ricky Bobby the shit out of it and got us out of there.
That's where.
Is there a cougar
That's
in
where
the
whatever it was in the river walking towards us. Post haste.
Yeah.
Oh hell no!
Taste.
Yeah, it was in the river, Wayne. Because Robbie saw something on his headlight, and all of a sudden, whatever it was turned and looked, and it was about chest high, and we saw a green eye shine, and we saw the eyes blink, and it was fording through the river, which was about what 8 feet deep, Da.
Yeah, the river was up and flowing hard, so it was pushing hard against current coming right at us.
And so,
Wow.
yeah,
And we're like, that thing's coming right at us, and it's not slowing down. And about that time, Doc went full Ricky Bobby, and next thing you know, we were heading up the road at breakneck speeds.
Last I checked, shit don't float upstream either.
Well, yeah,
So,
I mean,
you know.
I will say this: the Department of Defense spared no expense on driving schools, so I was pretty happy with doing that.
After they finally got me back in the car, that is.
I want to go out with you guys.
Yeah,
Dude, you're welcome anytime.
We're gonna put a shock collar on Robbie when he gets too far. We're just gonna.
You know those little leashes you put on dogs that you click the button and it stops them, and then you can rewind it? Well, we're going to have to get one of them made out of actual steel cable so we can jerk Robbie's ass back in the car when he tries to wander off.
I will say this, man. Robbie was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go look at it." So
We're gonna hook it to the
Every group needs a Robbie.
we're gonna hook it to the winch on the front of the thing and just reel him in onto the bumper and take off.
Yeah, because we had just seen that half-eaten deer corpse right there on the side of the road.
Half-eaten deer corpse.
Dude,
The first time I took Robbie down to Blanc Road, we were heading down there, and it was cold wintertime, about 18 months ago.
Tell me
And we're
what's
heading-
a kick-ass band name, Half-Eaten Deer Corpse.
Well, we're driving down,
metalcore
and this is in the butt crack of nowhere. When I tell you Blanc Road's in the middle of nowhere,
Dude.
it is in the butt crack of nowhere.
It's extremely murdery territory, y'all. Is all I'm saying.
Trees are up over the road like a tunnel.
What did I say? We pulled in, Robbie. I said, "Yeah, we're gonna get murdered."
Yeah.
So Robbie, Noah, and I are going down there in my little car, and we're heading down the road toward the end of Blanc Road where it ends at the river. And I'm telling them, I'm like, there's been lots of sightings. There was even an Ozarks howler sighting down here a few years ago. It's been Bigfoot sightings. One old boy got a whole stringer of fish snatched out of his boat while he was moving in the boat. That it just popped up, and went, whoop, grabbed his fish, and went back underwater. But there are lots of sightings out in that area. And when I tell you it's in the middle of nowhere, I'm not exaggerating. It's still
very much.
People that live out there get their internet by a dog sled. They still get their mail Pony Express. It is in the middle of freaking nowhere. So the first time I took Robbie down there, I got my long beams on, and we're moving kind of slow down this road, kind of looking around, and I let off the gas because I saw something in the middle of the road, about 40 yards ahead. And I take my foot off the gas, and I'm letting the engine slowing us down, and I'm leaning forward and I'm looking at that, and I go, Robbie, what the hell is that in the middle of the damn road? And he leans forward and looks, and he goes, "Is that a head?"
Oh,
wow.
Yes, it was a deer head that had been ripped off, not cut off, ripped off at the base. You could still see where part of the spine was sticking to the back of the skull, not cut, torn, laying in the middle of the road, missing its eyes, missing the lower jaw, and missing its tongue, facing us in the road.
Traumatic disarticulation.
Yeah.
What he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got out and looked at it.
Yeah, of course we did, and we've a number of times we found disarticulated deer down in Joe Bald, down in Combs Ferry. There's like 6 times so far we found deer that have been not cut apart, torn apart.
Yep, flying bass too.
Yeah, the one that because Wyatt, y'all found it down there the first time y'all went when y'all got cornered when y'all landed on the boat landing when Steve was with y'all. And then when we went down there with Wyatt and Robbie and Noah and UDA, there was that deer hide up in the tree, about 10 feet up the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So where was the place that y'all found the fish in the trees?
That was on Combs Ferry. Would you like to see those pictures?
Yes, please.
Let me grab the file
on our show, but it's creepy as hell.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, try being there with a broken leg.
Okay.
That whole night that y'all talked about on our show, y'all got some balls, dude.
Big ones.
Or we're just idiots. One of the two.
We're just stupid.
One of the two. It don't matter.
Not a whole lot of brains.
I want to go with you. What does that say about me?
Come on.
Yeah, look at that.
That deer leg is broken off just above the first leg knuckle, and it has been twisted and spiral twisted off.
Look
and
at
you can still
all
see
that
its
fur and skin.
Yeah, and that tree is only about 4 or 5 inches in diameter.
Yeah, it's not very big.
It ain't big enough.
How high was that?
That's just about. Well, here, let me show you the picture with Steve next to it. So
okay.
This is after Steve got finished hurling his expletives at me.
Yeah.
My name is Jeff.
She's a fucking
Find it.
Where are you at, Steve? There.
Oh,
so I'm 6 feet tall.
You're 6 foot tall.
Oh, that's not.
That's over
So
6 feet.
So I would say if you stand up next to it, I probably the top of my head probably came with that branch that the foot's next to. I'd say it's maybe 7 feet up.
God.
Dadgummit, Bobby.
Who the fuck hangs
Someone with hands
in the tree? Exactly.
Someone with hands.
Something with hands.
And then there was this, which was just maybe 10 yards away.
Who hangs a fucking fish in the tree?
Yeah.
A fish that has had its head ripped off. And that's in a sapling. There's no way a big cat did that. That tree right here is about the diameter of a quarter.
Yeah, if that.
Wow.
If that. And it's literally right across the road. It's almost
Nearest
like
we can
they're
figure.
marking it.
Nearest we could figure that was a territorial marking because no sooner than we passed that point, they started getting aggressive.
I want to see this place, y'all.
I'll take it. I'll be happy to take it.
How far is it from where we're going to be in Missouri?
I don't know where the campsite is, but from right here in Springfield, we could be there in about 35, 40 minutes.
Oh, fuck. Springfield? 30. Okay. We might can make that happen.
I'll take you. Hell yeah, I'll be happy to.
Okay.
Take you down to Joe Bald and even Blunk Road if you want to go.
I'm down.
Troy Two Fingers asks, is that a full-grown deer? The leg looks small. Well, it's a Missouri whitetail, so some of them ain't no bigger
they don't
than
get big.
Dalmatian, you know?
Well, bear in mind, it's only from the elbow down, too.
Yeah, it's
you only
just
got half a leg.
It's not torn off at the shoulder. It's torn off at that first joint.
Yeah, it was disarticulated at the elbow. And, yeah, and it wasn't that old. There was some dried red blood at the foot of the tree.
Here's a better shot of that fish.
Oh, yes, the tree trout.
The Missouri tree trout.
It's a
Is
elusive
that like a trouser trout?
Yeah, I think we figured out it was a. Did we say we thought it was a smallmouth bass?
I think it is a smallmouth.
It looks like it.
Yeah, I'm not a fisherman. I'm sorry. The only thing I ever catch fishing is a cold.
The eyes were gone.
Guys, there's no fucking way to explain a fish in a tree. It's just not.
The eyes were gone, but the flesh was still soft.
I mean,
I poked it with my finger. The flesh was still soft. And right here on this back edge, that is not a smooth cut. That is like something grabbed the back half of the fish and the front half of the fish and just twisted it apart.
yeah, it doesn't
That's
look
wild.
smooth.
Yeah. Well, and they keep on giving me crap about my reaction to everything because I'm always the agnostic / non-believer of the group. Well, my typical bad luck, out of shape self. When we docked the boat to get there, I stepped off the boat, and it was a bass boat, so 30 inches or so off the deck. Well, apparently when I jumped off of it, landing on level turf, I somehow broke one of my legs. I broke my fibula, and so I thought I twisted my knee, and so I'm walking on it, because you can walk on that. It's not fun.
Graceful like that.
And so, if I had any grace, I've been a dancer.
So, Wayne, the ones I'm about to bring up now, my son Noah and I found this last October in Joe Bald.
Okay.
We were sitting there hiking back, and I guess the worse we got, the more I limped, and that seemed to make them a little bit more agitated. So.
This deer's eyes are missing. The tongue was missing.
So what the
and
fuck
that's
were
the
you
hide
looking
that's still attached to the head. But when we lifted it up, actually, you can see part of the spine right here. The part of the spine was still attached to the head. It had not been severed cleanly. And to make it even better, here's another shot of the head. But we found the legs, and these are not cut. These are, you can see sinew and you can see broken bone.
How do you explain that?
Yeah, I remember showing those when you guys were on with us. And
I mean, right there, you can see that's not cut.
No.
That's bone right there. And sinew.
Poor deer.
And to make
there's another one, bones busted.
Just to add to that,
sinew.
Wayne, the last time, or when I was down there with Mary Ann, at this last one in Missouri, she found a leg. It was older, but a leg in that same state, done just like that.
This has had the flesh gnawed off of it. Look at it. You can see the teeth marks.
How do you explain that? I mean,
I really don't.
You don't.
Well, y'all tell us.
Yeah.
Wayne, have you ever squirrel hunted?
No, I haven't.
Okay, how you clean a squirrel? The way I was taught, anyway. Cut the legs off, make your incision, and then you pull the skin off, and then break the neck, cut the neck, whatever. If you go back and look at that deer hide that DA and Noah found, to me that looks like how we would do to a squirrel. So you think about something big enough to do that to a deer like we would do to a squirrel.
Or a rabbit. Just grab it and peel it off. It takes a lot of strength to do that to a rabbit. I can't imagine doing that to a deer.
Yeah, like a glove. You peel it off like you're pulling the glove off inside out.
I was about to say you're degloving the deer.
Yeah, basically. Yep. Yeah, 100%.
And
to do that to a deer, that's a little more challenging than a tree rat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Bushy tail tree rat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I said, there was enough stuff that made a believer out of me. And,
after you stop cussing me out, that is.
Well, bear in mind, I was in a lot of pain, and at that point, I was scared shitless. But yeah.
There's that.
Who found it? Bobby? Yeah, that's perfect.
Yep. To my credit, I finished it. I left when the boat came back. But yeah,
that was quite the night down in Combs Ferry.
We noticed that they got more aggressive as I was limping around, and I didn't realize at the time, but the guys of the group who had some military law enforcement background were deliberately like herding me into the middle of the group, and it wasn't until I got back to the dock when I realized what they'd been doing. I'm like, huh. And so one of them made a comment, because I was supposed to be the medic of the group because the real doc wasn't able to make it. And I'm a nurse, and so I was carrying a pretty good trauma kit and whatnot. And they're like, "Yeah, nobody touches Doc." I'm like, "Awesome! I'm glad that
We had
works."
about 7 or 8 trauma kits between the group of us.
Steve was like going back to that TV show. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. You know?
You are.
But yeah, Tracy asked if I went to the ER. So I walked around that for about 8 days, thinking I just twisted my knee.
Holy
And
shit.
then my boss finally was like, "This isn't getting any better. You're bracing it. It's not getting any better. Go to the sports medicine. We have a sports medicine walk-in clinic down here." And I go there, and the guy takes a couple of x-rays. He goes, "I can't tell exactly what happened here, but you need an MRI." I'm like, "Okay." So I figured, a couple of weeks, couple months, we'll get the MRI, because it ain't easy to get one of those. The doctor hands me a piece of paper. He goes, "It's at 5."
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, okay. And so sure enough, they MRI'd it. They told me I'd hear from them in a couple of days, probably. I had a call at 8:30 the next morning telling me I broke my fibular plateau, and I needed to come in and get a brace for it. And
Damn.
so I spent 3 or 4 months walking around on a hinge brace. And yeah, it wasn't my smoothest move.
Steve special.
I fit right in, though. I mean, if you can step off a boat and like instantly snap your leg, I mean, Grace is like my middle name.
Well,
I am not graceful.
Since then, I decided that was the wake up call I needed. As I'm pushing 50 to take a little better care of myself. So I've lost about 50 pounds now. And
Good for you.
What I do out with these bastards, I'm going to wear the damn brace just because that's a natural weak point now. But
Hey, you were dead sexy when I saw you last time in Missouri.
Hey, I've gotten even hotter.
Y'all's fucking accents are great.
Hey, thank you.
Go to country Missouri and get some meat, the good kind of meat.
Yeah, dude, you did. Seriously though, you look great, man. And I mean, honestly, man, if you can drop those lbs, that makes you less prone to injury for sure.
Yeah.
Well, joints.
I think I was about 220 when you saw me, down from about 250. And I'm 195 this week. So
sweet.
Awesome. Good job.
Good for you.
Fantastic,
We're
man.
getting there. We're getting there.
I haven't been 195 since 3rd grade.
I'm right there with you, man.
I wasn't much.
I haven't been below 195 since the Army.
I was pudgy.
Well, I was 175 when I graduated high school, and I was skin and bones at that point. So I don't want to quite get that low. But yeah, I've gone down 2 pant sizes and a shirt size, which is kind of cool and sad all at once because clothes are expensive now, dude.
They are.
Wear them baggy, man. You're good. You're good.
That's right.
Yeah, that way if you shit your
Anderson
jeans
sheep.
when you see something, ain't nobody gonna know.
Just right out of them. I mean,
Tag them.
Yeah, I'll say this though, man. When we went back to Combs Ferry, we didn't have anything happen like that they had that night. But Robbie will concur with me, and if Wyatt's on, I don't know if Wyatt's on or not. It was.
Yeah, he's here. I've seen it.
Okay, and DA will know this. DA always say this too. Will support this. It was eerie that day, man. It was eerie, and that trap we saw. How big was that print? 17, 18 inches?
About that,
yeah. It was pretty doggone big, man. And that
Where was that at?
At Combs Ferry. Yeah.
Yep. We got a pretty good print there at Combs Ferry too.
Dude,
it was too dry to cast it.
It was impressive. Yeah. It was impressive, man. And again, because I'd never had an encounter or anything before until that happened at frickin' Moon Valley with those dickheads up the trees. But yeah, it was I mean, I still get the freaking willies about it, man. Seriously. It's something that freaking the first encounter you have when they're that close to you and you see them on something that's giving you the feedback right there. You know, it ain't make believe. It is what it is. And thermal don't lie. And that I mean, that's laid some serious, indelible marks in my consciousness. And
we get back to the hotel that night, Wayne, after we drop DA and Noah off, and we go back in the Doc's room, and we're sitting. And I'm sitting on the chair just drinking a beer, just watching Doc pacing back and forth. He's like, dude, thermal don't lie. And he'd say something, dude, thermal don't lie. And thermal
Talk
don't
himself
lie.
through it.
And I'm just sitting there.
I mean, it still gives me the willies.
Well,
Doc had a paradigm shift that night.
Yeah,
I mean, Robert when he burnt the clutch.
He almost burned his clutch up that night.
I mean, literally. I mean, I have had paranormal experiences. I've seen full body apparitions. I've seen doors fly open right in front of me. All that kind of stuff. I've had a lot of paranormal experience. But
Yeah, but thermal don't lie.
nothing on this plane.
You ain't
You
wrong.
hear me? You know what I'm saying? And thermal don't lie because that's on this plane, son. And that
No.
like I said, it gives me a little bit of.
Well, you were one of the most laid back, typical Southerners that I know, and you were so animated telling the story at the pub that it was puckering my butthole. And I didn't see no pictures. I wasn't there. I was just, drinking a beer or five, listening to y'all tell the story, and
even talking about it now, it's like I can relate to Fred now. When Fred came on and talked about his encounter up in Alaska, I can relate to him because I'm getting chills and literally kind of reliving that crap. And I was like, man, because I just saw Robbie and DA going out there, and I told DA, I said, hit it with your white lights and see what you see. And he's like, there's eye shine, and whoop, they were gone behind the trees like a fart in the wind. And I was just like, oh my God. So,
And that's when Doc caught the other one on thermal coming up behind us.
Nightly 45. Do y'all have any videos from thermal? No, because I have a dual set of white phosphor PBS 31s, and I have a clip-on thermal imager. There was no recording capability. I now have a thermal that's able to record and send screen captures, everything like that. So next time we go back out, you can bet your sweet bippy that it's going to be on there.
And one thing, folks, Wayne can back me up on this. We do all this on our own nickel. There's no government subsidies for people that hunt Bigfoot, and a lot of that equipment is quite pricey. So a lot of times we don't have the equipment we would like to have, but we still go out.
I wish we'd had. I wish.
I got to get this to you too, so you can record sound.
Yeah, wish in one hand and crap in the other one, see which one fills up the quickest. But I wish we'd have had a thermal that recorded because
next time we got it.
Well, we're gonna have it now, son.
That thermal Doc's got, he was sending me thermals he was taking from his porch. He was getting thermal images that were clear as day of a group of mule deer. They're about 300 yards away.
Hell yeah.
That it was crystal clear. I'm like, those are mule deer.
Was this a drone?
No, just a thermal imager.
It's a handheld, and it's got like several different color palettes. So you can do white hot, black hot, different colors and everything, like predator hot. But I sent them to Robbie and DA. I was like, next time we go, and it's going to be on like Donkey Kong because you can slave it to your phone, and whatever you're seeing on thermal slaves to your phone, and you can hit video and screen capture. So we're going, if it's there, we're gonna hit it. And Pete said, "Thermal don't lie, just like spandex."
That's
100% facts, Pete.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it did. It made I was already a believer, but that just cemented it with us. So, well, what about y'all's experiences, ma'am? What tell us about y'all's experiences? Let's hear it.
Tiff?
Sir, well, I personally haven't had any. However, in 2021, my husband did. I was home for it, but I didn't like physically catch a glimpse of what he did. I mean, I can tell you that story.
Let's hear it.
Sure.
Okay. But so we're in the backyard and we're mowing grass. Okay. We live on a mountain here in Roanoke, Virginia. And we live on a downslope, and you guys know how that is. So we were mowing the grass. I find mowing to be very therapeutic. So I take over the mowing. He does the weed eating. He gets all the vines and crap off the fence. So I finish my part. I come up to the top, and I'm sitting outside of the front of our house. And so he calls me, and he's pretty shaken up. But I thought he was just calling me to get me to bring him some water because it's very typical. And he said, I I have a question for you. And I said, okay. Now, y'all got to keep in mind, it's dusk. It's not, dark. I was like, okay, what's your question? And he said, do they come out in the daytime? And I was like, does what come out in the daytime, honey? And he said, Bigfoot. Do Bigfoot come out in the daytime? And I said, well, I've heard, there's day watchers. And I was like, why? And he said, because I think I just saw one. Y'all, I am here to tell y'all, I ran down the steps and I ran down the hill. I was like, what? So I go over to him and he's 6'1", 285, and he's like, please don't leave me back here. And he said it was about 20 to 25 feet away from him. And he said he saw it for just a split second. He had stopped to fix the line on his weed eater. He had stopped the music in his AirPod. Something got his attention. He looked up and he said it gruffed at him and took off. He didn't see any, features, facial features, but he said it was about 8 to 8.5 feet tall, 20 to 25 feet away from him, and it was gone like the freaking wind on 2 feet.
Plenty of daytime sightings.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. But see, with me, most of the stuff that I showed him, it was at night. So, when all this happened to him, he was an open-minded skeptic. I mean, he wasn't full board like I am. So yeah, we had several strange incidences happen. A lot of the paranormal stuff that we experienced happened after that sighting. So, I mean, he will never sit, and I'll never sit and say 100% it was a Bigfoot, but we've ruled everything out that it could have been.
Yeah.
Because we have bear, yeah. And we're not going to sit here and say that bear don't get up on their hind feet, because we all know they do.
Yeah.
However, they do not move that quick and that agile through. I mean, it's like the freaking Amazon jungle over here, y'all.
That 8 feet tall will be a really damn big black bear.
Exactly. And it's like
they don't get that big.
No, thank God. But it's
and Tiffany, it's like you were saying. It's like I that's why when I saw what I saw on thermal, I was, the rational part of my mind was like, you ain't seeing that, and that's why I wanted some confirmation from Robbie and DA there.
That's when we lit up our headlamps.
Hit that,
and there they were.
And there was 2 sets of eye shine, one taller than the other one. Just
Robbie and I saw the full silhouette.
Yeah, that's kind of how he was in y'all. He's like really anal about his grass. It's got to be a certain way, and it's got to, y'all. He didn't even finish the grass that day. We went inside. He was
Honey,
like,
why is there a pintle mount on the John Deere?
like,
No reason.
We're done. But what we don't understand, and the only thing we have an alcove right there across from our chain link fence. It's like the freaking Amazon, and then there's a little alcove that dips down. But if you go to your right, if you're facing this, there's a guardrail and there's a road, and then there's a creek, and it goes up into more mountains. Where the hell did it go? If it crossed the street, it's daytime, right? If it went to the left, I mean, it would have went up higher into the mountains. However, neighbors, it's just like it vanished as quick as it was there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
that was like with my Dogman sighting in LBL. Once it realized I saw it, that thing turned around and was gone.
Yeah.
It moved stupid fast.
Yeah. And that's how he said. He said it was like throwing a baseball or a walnut in the woods. It made that sound, but it and then was gone.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with mine that night in the LBL when Tyler and I, or all of us, were sitting there looking at the eye shine. You could see it moving like this. You could see it blink every once in a while. But then we heard that snap behind us. We all turned to look and see what was behind us. We turned back around, and it was gone. We never heard anything.
Yeah.
And it was
how does something so big and so just massive just disappear, or it approaches you and you don't know it, or it leaves and you don't hear it. Like, I don't understand that.
Plenty of practice.
I was going to say you're on its turf. I was.
And we think we're the apex predator.
Yeah,
Right.
I've told the story before in the show. One of my best friends is an ex-Army Ranger, and the dude's a certified badass. And half the stuff that he did, was still classified, and he can't tell me about it. I tried to take him on a trip, and he had to get advance permission from the Department of Defense to leave the country. And he hasn't been active 20 years. So I don't know what the hell he was involved in, but we were playing paintball, and we're standing out in this typical Missouri oak savanna, like you see in a lot of some of these paintball areas. And we were messing around, and we're 10, 12 feet apart. And I looked down to change out the CO2 cartridge on my paintball gun, and I looked back up, and he was gone. He vanished. And there were no trees that were bigger than about 6 or 8 inches across. There's no way he was hiding behind a tree. Neither of us is wearing camo. We're just wearing street clothes because, we ain't that cool when we play paintball. And he gone. I didn't hear him walk away. He's typical size dude, typical special forces guy, 5'7", 5'8", probably about 200 pounds at that point. He'd been out for a while. Basically it'd be like Doc just disappearing from 10 feet away, wearing street clothes. And I'm like, what the hell, And
you want to watch Doc disappear? Point at that dollhouse.
That ain't funny, man.
Yeah, but when that happens, though, you hear the leaves shuffling, and you'll see a trail of urine to where he's going. So it's a little easier to find.
True. Follow his scent.
I know we're gonna have to get Doc on, Wayne. We've been talking about. I need to cleanse my palate with some paranormal. I would love to hear that.
Doc is welcome. He's welcome.
Girl, I got all kinds of stories. I worked in a haunted hospital when I was in the Air Force.
Hell yeah.
And yeah. And then
we like the creepy.
Bro, and my wife and I, when my wife was taking care of the house, her aunt died in, her uncle died in. Yeah, there was all kinds of. That's where the door flew open. I mean, just nothing major. Just nobody else in the house, and the door just randomly flies open. That was shut. So
he got his butt pinched in Tombstone too by a ghost.
That got felt up in Tombstone.
Oh yeah, I did. I got felt up in Tombstone.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty rad. I got some good EVPs in the Birdcage Theater.
Awesome.
Which was pretty cool. So yeah.
Got fondled by Big Nose Kate, did you?
Well, I mean,
might have been.
I hope it was Big Nose Kate, not Ike Clanton. You know what I mean?
Well, Ike Clanton died in Denver, Colorado. I don't think he's
not Frank McClary, who died there in the OK Corral.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I don't even know where Kate died, to be honest with you. Just the first female that came to mind.
Yeah. No, she's not buried there. I had to look at where she's buried. I read her autobiography. It was actually pretty fascinating. So interesting.
Yeah.
It was called According to Kate. Was the name of the autobiography. So I got some encounters that, I mean, like I said, when I'm at DA, I was a believer in that kind of stuff, but I never had my cryptid encounter until this year, and that just cemented and solidified everything that we've been talking about for the past few years I've been on the show with them. And it was a, like DA said, it was a paradigm shift, man. It was a game changer for me. And
that first night I took you down to Joe Bald, I thought we were going to have to shoot our way out of there too.
Well, because we caught some crazy ass eye shine that was 8-10 feet in the air, man. And it
never got close enough we could see anything but the eyes, but we could see them moving between the trees.
Yeah, and all we had was a couple of freaking 9mm poodle shooters on us. It'd have been,
Did you say poodle shooters?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then basically DA and I saving around for each other. You know what I mean?
This is a group of what's the word I'm looking for? Firearms equipped individuals, but they always tend to pack for meth head, coyote,
Snake.
Snake. When we were down at Combs Ferry, DA said, "Well, make sure you're armed, because it's pretty woolly down there." And I'm like, "Okay, we got coyotes, we got meth heads, and so I'm packing, a 9mm pistol, and
Which is nowhere near enough. We now know.
yeah, and so my plan, if anything went down once we saw the deer leg, was make sure I kept a good round count, so there's one left for me. But
yeah, shit got a little hairy before we got out of there.
Yeah, it made it. I mean, the thing that what happened with me and DA, we were only like 50 yards into that little area there.
Yeah, not very far.
We weren't that far at all, and everything got quiet.
And we were just off that parking area.
Yeah,
that's never a good sign.
It got stupid quiet. Like nothing. I mean, you could hear a mouse fart. You know what I mean? And it was crazy. And I was like, and then I said, "You see that?" And he's like, "Yep," because we were just shining flashlights out there, and we skinned them smoke wagons real quick and said, "Hey, you know what, Robbie? What time is it?"
Oh, about half past time to get the hell out of here.
Correct. So that was a first encounter, and then the other encounter when I saw what I saw on thermal, and then having them back it up with hitting it with white light, that was what confirmed it for me. I was like, I ain't just seeing something, because there's pareidolia is a real thing.
Right.
One equipment can glitch, but you had two pieces of equipment confirm the same stimulus.
Correct. And
did you skin those smoke wagons or smoke those skin wagons?
That's a good one. But I was like, yeah, like Jeremy Lee said, I'm packing for dragons, because I know when we was when we were all together, there was at least 2 458 SOCOMs. I had a 10mm.
I had a 12 gauge,
and he had a 12 gauge loaded heavy.
I had a 12 gauge ready. I had a 1911 on my hip and a 357 Magnum in a chest rig.
Yeah, I mean, it might have gotten us, and I might have been scat, but it was going to earn it. But I
might have got myself at, but that was going to be found in a pile of empty brass.
It was definitely life changing, man, and I don't say that to be flip at all. It was definitely life changing. It was something that made me appreciate where I stood in the archetype of things, as far as being I'm not the apex predator here, buddy. So
DA mentioning his 357 made me think of a story a Marine buddy of mine told me when he was out in Colorado, one of his military assignments. This buddy of his wanted to go out and go look to see if they could lay eyes on some brown bear, and he's like, okay, yeah, and while he's doing this, the guy that brought him out there was going to do some deer hunting. So he's up in a blind with his deer rifle, and the other guy's on foot, walking all through the woods. And he had a 357 and a whistle. And he told the Marine, he goes, if I see anything interesting, I'll blow that whistle. You come to me. He's like, all right. And so he's gone out a couple hundred yards from where he is out in the woods, and all of a sudden he hears 6 shots in pretty short time, and then he hears this whistle, and he hears the whistle like Doppler effect coming towards him as he's blowing the whistle, and he had emptied all 6 rounds into a brown bear, and I think he's still chasing him.
Oh no!
And he dropped the gun, and you just hear him blowing the whistle.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, Wayne, I didn't mean to steal the show from you with my encounter. You tell yours.
Who? What?
Yeah.
Encounter.
I was about to say that. Thank Thank you, Tiffany. I was going to say, Wayne, what about you, man?
Yeah, he's just skirting it. He's just skirting it.
I forgot. What were we talking about?
Your Bigfoot encounter.
Is there a topic here?
There it was in the woods, coated in motor oil, butt naked.
Knee deep in brass and hand grenade pins.
That's it. So what am I talking about?
Your encounter, Dur.
Man, I run the organization. I've had several encounters.
Okay, we'll talk about
I think it was your first one is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Or all of them.
Yeah, already.
Okay, well, we'll talk about the first ever that I believe was a sighting. I was in North Georgia mountains, Lafayette, Pigeon Mountain, for those of you that may be familiar with it. Oh my goodness. It was about 3-4 years ago. It was this 2025? I said 2022. We were out there. There was 4 of us. We were, God, it was bitterly cold, guys. I don't know what happened, but we were out there and we had this one of my old members of the organization. He was out there looking and he stepped on this log and we couldn't see the other end of the log. But when he stepped on it, he felt something move, like it was standing on the other side of it. So he comes running back to us. And this guy's been doing this for like 20 years. He's 70-something years old. He is not afraid. I've never seen this dude afraid of anything. He comes running back and he says, something is down there. So we get to looking. And it is bitterly cold out there on this mountain. And I get my flare out. We start scanning the wood line, and we see something. There's this tall being with something in front of it, and the thing that's in front of it is scurrying, like left and right, running. I mean, it's like playing is the best way I can describe it. So we're shining this, and before every expedition, I charge everything, all of my equipment, completely, 100%. But we get out there, and there's only enough charge on this equipment for me to get. I mean, there's not enough to get a video. There's only enough to get a still picture. And I don't know why. But there's this thing that's running left and right, like scurrying back and forth. And I only got like 1 or 2% on my battery. So I take a picture. I run back to the truck and it dies completely. I run back to the truck. I plug it up and get enough battery for it to come back. And I get just a few more stills, a few more pictures of this thing running, and it's swerving like that, back and forth. I don't know what this thing is. There's 3 or 4 of us there, and 2 or 3 times running back and forth to the truck, charging the flare enough to get just these small amounts of this thing swerving back and forth. I don't know if the cold weather was causing my flare to freeze up. I don't know what this thing is, but we get this image of something that is like swaying like that back and forth. I don't know what it is. That is the one time that I believe that I've seen something. I mean, are you guys familiar with anything like that, like the swaying?
Robbie shaking his head. I know DA's talked about that, but Robbie, is that not a primate?
That's primate behavior.
That's what
gorillas do that in the zoo.
That's what it was doing outside.
Chimps do that.
Yep.
The billy ape is known to do that. And that's reported more often than not in Sasquatch. It's usually associated with what they call tree peeking, but they'll also stand just in the wide open and sway back and forth.
Because remember, that's what, when I read that line in the first wild hunt, I hadn't talked about my encounter for 30, 40 years. And I read that line that DA put in the first wild hunt book, and that's what made me reach out to him, because reading that line brought it all back to me. And I'm like, oh, I got those cold chills like you were talking about, Doc, because when I was looking out that screen door, it was.
Yeah. And that is typical primate behavior.
So, yes, I've definitely heard of that behavior, Wayne. Yeah. Definitely.
I knew that would resonate with y'all, so that's the reason I stopped. I'm sorry, Wayne. I'm not trying to interrupt you, man.
No, you're good. You're good, buddy.
I got a question for you and Tiffany both, and this one might prove a little controversial with a few folks, because we've all got different opinions, and we've got different opinions from people that we go out with. Well, not everybody believes Bigfoot is the same thing. What do you guys think Bigfoot is?
I think it's flesh and blood with a dash of special, because I don't understand how it does the things that it does. And I don't know, Doc, maybe you could cue in on this, because, after my husband saw what he did, that is when all the paranormal happenings started at our house. We moved in 2019, nothing. He saw what he saw in 2021. We started having some paranormal stuff going on. I mean, all the way back to, 2 years ago. I ran across a video today from 2023 when we had stuff happening in the house.
What kind of paranormal stuff?
Pacing in the hallways. Stuff. My husband woke up one night. We don't do it anymore, but we used to sleep with our LED lights on. And they were on like a royal blue. That's my favorite color. And he woke up in the middle of the night. It was like he said he was ready to fight. There was somebody in that bedroom. And the LED lights had gone from blue to red. The whole entire bedroom was red. And my picture frame with my college diploma had come off the wall, hit the dresser, and then hit the floor, which would be, somebody would say, oh, well, it's a picture. It's going to fall off the wall. No, because the way this picture frame is, you have to lift it from the bottom to be able to take it off with the nail. Different things moving. I'm a lover of giraffes, and I have giraffe statues. They were moved. The scent of cigarette smoke and that rose perfume. Yes. And recent activity. Our youngest daughter is 15. She's almost 16. And in her bedroom, she had something whisper in her ear. And it just said, hey, in a whisper tone. And then the next evening she came to me, that next morning, and said, Mom, whatever is in here knows my name, because it said my name in my ear. Yeah. Wow. So is it the logical side of you says, okay, well, Bigfoot is flesh and blood. Bigfoot eats. Bigfoot kills. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But there's just something about it that's off. Just a little bit.
Have you done any remodeling work on your house?
We didn't.
Okay.
We didn't. Now, the previous owner had done remodeling work to the house. But we hadn't done anything since we moved in. We didn't have to because it was pretty, fresh when we moved in.
So how long after how long had you guys been living there when he had his sighting?
1923 years.
And the paranormal stuff only started happening after that?
Afterwards, yes. And it wasn't consistent. It's not ever been consistent. It's not ever been a malevolent feel. The only instance that I had, and before I started working with Wayne and getting into, the guts of what it is that we do, I was the chicken shit, y'all. So when you hear footsteps pacing up and down your hallway, don't forget the calls for help and yes, we had those too. But I was in my room, it was my day off, and it was like somebody had dragged their fingernail down my bedroom door. That is the only malevolent thing we have dealt with in the house. We have heard, well, I haven't heard it, but my husband and our daughter has the help me's coming from outside. And Carrie has always been instructed, do not open the door when you hear somebody saying, help me. But my husband's a road medic, okay? So
you live in Appalachian territory. You hear something in the woods saying, help me, you don't go.
Exactly. If you hear your
100%.
name, no, you didn't. If it whistles, you don't whistle back. You close your curtains at night. You stay the hell inside.
Correct.
Yes. But my husband's a road medic, and he's been one for 26 years. So his natural inclination is to open the door to make sure that everything is, there's not legit somebody saying, help me. And I was just like, oh my God, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. But none of that until after he saw what he did.
Well, okay. So can I ask you this question, Tiffany? I mean, when he saw what he saw, experienced what he experienced, and then y'all started having the paranormal stuff, during that time, had you had any paranormal stuff happen with you and Wayne?
The main thing I dealt with is we were doing an interview with Patrick Meekin, and I had an orb go across the screen. Just funky stuff with the computer, freezing. I can't log on. And I mean, we've updated our systems now. I was on a laptop when I started working with him, but now I have a Mac. But just normal technical issues.
Okay. So I'm just thinking, and DA and Robbie, y'all back me up. You too, Steve. I mean, it could be two completely different things. It could be he had his own experience, and then the stuff that you had happen with Wayne
Followed you home.
Could have
the hitchhiker effect.
Could have had it attached itself like a hitchhiker effect, and then things started happening then. So it could be two totally different, separate.
Well, I was going to say they could be completely separate. A dog can have fleas and ticks.
True.
Right.
And two, a lot of times what we've noticed is, and I've used this analogy with it, is before you get a new vehicle, it's like you never see that vehicle on the road. But you get your new vehicle, and it's like every other car you pass is that vehicle because you're not used to seeing it. Once you have, and Doc and DA and Steve will all back this up or back me up on this. Once you have these experiences and once you're open to them,
you start noticing things that your rational brain was trying to ignore before.
Yeah.
So maybe they were going on, just not enough for you to be aware of it. And then once because you said yourself, you was kind of like, well, I believe, but I didn't. Kind of like Doc. He knew that they existed, but he never had that. But now that paradigm shift is, once that switch is flipped, it can't get flipped back. It's a one-way switch. So
right. Well, and two, I wondered too. Not to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. In 2019, when we moved in, I had gotten the job that I was at, and we did have a ghost there. I was not the only one who experienced the behaviors at work because I worked in the receiving area in picking and packing, and we had something at that store. I mean, there were voices, and it's primarily females that work in the back. Our manager and our boss was a male, but I've heard male voices. There's no males back there. Footsteps. We worked directly in front of the women's bathroom. We have a half wall where our stuff is set up, and you can hear people going in and out of the bathroom and flushing the toilet and turning the water on and off. But there were times that there was no one in that restroom and the water would come on or the toilet would flush. You know, you could hear footsteps walking behind you. I got chased out of that hallway. So I was like, okay, well, did I bring something home with me from work?
Sometimes stuff does attach to people.
So then
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
had that happen to you too, didn't you?
I did. When I went to LBL, I went to a lot of the cemeteries in northern LBL in the dead of night, just trying to see if I could find activity. And when we got back from LBL, my dog Harley, he's not the bravest of dogs. He's a great dog, but I would take him out in the backyard to go to the bathroom generally late at night because I'm a night owl. And more often than not, within like a week of us getting back from LBL, he would go out in the backyard and refuse to leave the circle of the porch light. And we had a big backyard. Usually under most days, I go out in the backyard with him. He's running all over the place. And he's a brown dog, so he's hard to spot. But those nights, for quite a while after we got back from LBL, he wouldn't leave the circle of light. Yeah, he would go out, pee on the tree right there in the porch light, haul his ass right back in the house. I couldn't get him to stay out longer. And I would get feelings like there's a house straight behind mine. I live in town, but if you look at the back fence of my property, it's got a honeysuckle bush all over it. It's pretty thick. And if you're like sitting in a like a yard chair, lawn chair, unless you're looking at it just right, you can't even see the house behind me, but it is back there.
Yeah.
And I would get, and at the time, nobody was living in that house when we first got back from LBL. They were still remodeling it, and I would get the feeling like something was watching me from that back fence. And I would light it up with my flashlight, and I could never find anything. And a couple of times I thought I saw eyes shine, like up in the tops of that, but honeysuckle ain't strong enough to hold anything.
Right, exactly.
Not even a bird can really, well, a little bird could perch in it, but nothing big enough for that eye shine. And so I'm like freaking out. And after about 2 weeks of this, I'm really starting to think something weird's going on. And we were having like odd things happen here in the house. We'd like go in one room, come back into the kitchen. The kitchen cabinets would be open and stuff like that. And it was kind of freaking me out. And I've got a buddy who's Navajo. And he called me and just out of the blue, he said, I had a dream about you. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, I feel like there's a dark presence surrounding you. And I said, what do you think it is? He goes, I don't know, but it's definitely not. It doesn't mean you any goodwill. It means to do you harm. And he talked to me, and we did a Navajo blessing way, and it went away. But that it literally followed us from LBL.
Yeah, I mean, it's creepy stuff. It is creepy stuff. And it's like, I was just on a podcast this past Monday from the shadows talking about it. And then Carrie came to me today and she's like, Mom, I smell cigarette smoke. I said, I know, I've been talking about it. That's why.
I still smell cigarette smoke here in the house from once in a while, and none of us smoke.
Yeah, well, same here. So it's like, yeah, it's not from any of us.
Yeah. I had that happen at a friend of mine's house up in the DC area in Virginia, and the lady that lived in her house, big time smoker. They used to see her tending her rose garden in her nightgown, or her apparition, full body apparition. And she was a smoker. She died in that house, and pretty horrifically, actually. It was pretty sad. But I was there visiting with them, and I smelled the smoke, and I looked around, I was like, hey, Peggy, how you doing? I'm
here.
I'm here. I know you're here, but it was never a malevolent presence. It was just like more like, hey, just seeing what's going on, especially when they started remodeling the house, like DA had said. They started remodeling the house. It was like drawers would open up in their chest of drawers and like staircases, and so they knew something was up. But yeah, it's almost like that's an intelligent presence. It's not a residual energy loop. Like
whatever was here was an intelligent presence, but it was also a malevolent presence, as it felt dark.
Well, see, and that's what I am, when all that happened with the picture frame coming off the wall and Zach was like, I felt like I was going to fight. I got home that afternoon because I don't understand it. It happens with Bigfoot too. I slept through everything. And so I came home on my lunch break and I was like, look, we can live together. We can live together peacefully. Okay. But please quit breaking my stuff. So like, it hasn't ever had that malevolent, dark, feel. It just, and like I said, here recently, it's just been these few little off things.
Yeah.
So,
knock on wood as I'm talking about it again.
Wayne, what's your opinion? What do you think Bigfoot is?
I don't. The more I look into it, the less I know. When I first started looking into this, you could not convince me that this thing was any more than a flesh and blood biological creature. But now that I have spoken to hundreds of people that have experienced just this weird stuff, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm open to everything. I can tell you that Tiffany and I look into a lot of missing persons cases. And the subject of portals really, really fascinates me. Because you have these people that go into the mountains and they're with people, they're with the groups, and all of a sudden, a couple steps later, they're never seen again. How do you explain that? The Dennis Martin
Not easy
stuff.
to explain.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so open to the idea of portals.
Well, I won't say I dismiss the idea of portals because we know portals do exist. CERN opened one, so we know portals do exist. But I still won't say I'm like set in stone in the flesh and blood camp, but I'm mostly in the flesh and blood camp. I think that the things that it can do are just things we can't explain yet. It doesn't necessarily mean it's supernatural, but most technology appears supernatural to people that don't understand it. And I'm not saying it's technology and it's like a natural ability. Like Doug Hychek from Monster Quest and so many researchers I've talked to have collected clear hair shafts like a polar bear has, and they use clear fiber optic cables now in the latest generation of ghillie suits because it picks up and redirects the color of light around it.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Paul Freeman film, he's filming a large black Sasquatch and it stops in front of a green pine tree and disappears. It didn't go through a portal. It didn't teleport. And Scotty from the Enterprise didn't beam it up. It just disappears right before your eyes. And once it realizes he's still coming, then it starts moving and you can see it again. But it stopped moving and blended perfectly in. And I think it's just a very natural camouflage ability that we just don't fully understand.
Like that scene in Harry and the Hendersons.
Right. You were talking about Harry and the Hendersons earlier. That's a great example. The last scene in Harry and the Hendersons, when all of a sudden like 20 of them appear, that was not done with CGI. The director just put them in costumes and said, go out there and stand still. And they had been there the whole time. You just didn't see them until they moved. And it's the same with deer hunting. Every deer I've ever shot, deer don't cloak. They don't beam up to the Enterprise. They don't go through dimensional portals. They're not from Alpha Centauri. Deer are just deer. And every deer I've ever shot, the only reason I saw the dang thing is because it moved. When they are sitting dead still, they're damned hard to see.
You're right.
But I will not say that portals or anything like that are impossible. I'm just saying the more we investigate, I think it's far more likely we're going to discover that it's got abilities we just don't understand yet.
Yeah.
I mean, and like we've talked about too, look at all the missing 411 cases, couple, layered on top of cave systems, layered on top of national park systems, things like that. I mean, all these people who've just disappeared like a fart in the wind, did they just get pulled into some kind of cave system and,
or up a tree?
They're not there. Yeah.
Got pulled up a tree. I mean, I'm not saying that something didn't happen like that. Like, they couldn't have been taken through a portal, but we have gotten plenty of documented cases of people that were snatched, like especially kids or somebody who was already like disabled, people who were snatched by wild animal predators like mountain lions, and nobody heard or saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is entirely possible. And I really believe that we need to look no further than the animal world or the rest of the animal world around us to explain some of these behaviors.
I've always thought that too. If you understand the animal kingdom and you put these two worlds together, I'm sure that we would find a lot of similarities in Bigfoot.
Well, we know infrasound exists. Tigers use it, elephants use it, whales use it, lions use it. There are tons of animals in the animal kingdom that use infrasound. That's a proven fact. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that this thing can do that. Yeah, when using infrasound can mess with your head. I mean, a lot of people it makes them sick. Some people it makes them like dizzy. It depends on the person how it affects them. But infrasound will straight up mess you up.
Yeah,
right.
Echolocation and adaptive camouflage, that stuff that exists in the animal kingdom. We don't think that, bats and whales have some kind of mystical ability because they can echolocate. We've speculated that the tree knocks are a lot more times than not tongue clicks like DA was doing earlier. And that's a form of echolocation, because if these things live in caves a lot of the time, which would explain why, a lot of times people don't find bodies or don't find, people that go missing, you don't ever find them, because there have been expeditions that have went 2 or 3 days down into the Mammoth Cave system, DA.
Oh yeah.
So we got 3 days in and started finding camping equipment.
Yeah, backpacks and tents and things like that. People don't just go
deeper than a person could have gotten.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like that one expedition that went down in the cave system, and they kept finding this big rock that they could only move with a hydraulic jack, and they moved it with a hydraulic jack, and then they come back and it'd be moved back in place with no hydraulic jack. And then that one girl was chased into. She was underground for 7 days.
She was part of a USGS survey, and she got separated, and she ended up running from something and came out of a cave in Georgia.
Yeah, she was on the run for 7 days. I mean, and it's not to be dismissive about the
definitely not
theories or things like that. Obviously, we're just trying to look for things in the. I guess I'm a scientist. I consider myself a scientist. I've been in the medical field for 33 years now, and God, I had to think about it. Good Lord, I'm old. But
old fart.
Yeah, I know, man. Fart dust. But just sitting there thinking about it, I try to look at things and hit it more of a scientific explanation to try to debunk it before looking into it from the paranormal aspect. Now, and I can have a good, I can look at it from both points. I can have a clear delineation there, because I've experienced both. I've experienced stuff in the paranormal realm, and I've experienced this weird crap in the physical realm. And so, I mean, I'm not definitely not call myself an expert. I'm an experiencer, someone who's experienced this crap. So it's entirely subjective, but I think Robbie and DA and Steve would all agree with that. It's like we try to look for a scientific explanation before we go into, well, it's got to be this or it's got to be that.
Right.
And I think that's a good way of doing it, because it's not being closed-minded. It's just, hey, leave yourself open for any explanation out there.
Right. And it's not
That's a healthy way to be.
Yeah, it's not bad to carry that skeptical side, because that's
absolutely
how
not.
And it doesn't mean, we all do a podcast, right? And so people could look at us and say, oh, well, you're skeptical. Well, that means you don't believe. Well, no, it means we're using our brain and we're trying to look at this logically, so the people who come at us, we can give them sound answer and a sound reasoning behind what we do.
Yeah, critical thinking.
Whenever we go out someplace, whenever we go investigate, the first thing we try to do is find an explanation for what else it could be before we start saying this is definitely cryptids. And when we found that deer up in the tree at Combs Ferry, we were like, mountain lion. Nope, tree's not big enough. Couldn't support the weight. Bobcat. No, these branches would be broken if there was a bobcat there. These branches are no bigger than my dang pinky. Mm-hmm. Okay. What else could do it? Could a bear have done it? Yes, but a bear couldn't have wrapped it around the branches. That requires hands.
Yeah.
So then you basically get it down to people or something with hands.
Right.
Yeah. It's an investigation process. And we've talked about this, DA and I being in law enforcement and being in the investigative side of it. You go to a crime scene and you start at point A, you don't go automatically from point A to point Z. You have to hit all points in between, because if you go from point A to point Z and then point Z doesn't pan out, you can't turn around and go back. Yep. So you have to eliminate everything in succession to get to the answers. That's what he's talking. Mountain lion. No, okay.
Start open-minded, gather the evidence, and then see where it takes you.
Well, and it's like Steve will tell you, he's a skeptic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's
maybe not as big a skeptic as he was when he started.
No,
I'm the agnostic. That's the way we look at it.
But he tries to use using, like Robbie was just saying, the investigative or the scientific method. We try to debunk stuff, like DA was saying, to say, hey, is there a physical explanation other than a cryptid or other than a paranormal or something that can explain this situation? And I think that's a healthy way to do it, honestly.
Well, Robbie's been teasing me about it since we had our visit down in Combs Ferry. He's watching the gears spinning in my head as I'm trying to process that deer carcass. And when I finally ran out of explanation, and the only thing I could settle on was, like DeGay was saying, it's either human or something with hands. At that point, I was like, fuck you, Robbie. because he's watching me, and he realized I ran out of explanations at that point. I was like, God.
I think if we don't lock ourselves into one train of thought or the other, and we leave ourselves open to these things, I think that's a good, healthy way to do it, don't you?
Well, and when the guests that we have on the show, we're never, ever, ever gonna say, well, I disagree with that. I wasn't there. Wayne wasn't there. We didn't experience what you experienced. We are leaving ourselves open to to interpret your experience. We're not going in there closed-minded saying, oh, well, this is BS. This couldn't have happened, blah, blah, blah. I think you have to, in this field, okay, you believe in Bigfoot, and then you're going to shut yourself off to everything else. Well, that's dumb.
Yeah. Well, it's like people could discount what I saw, but I know what I saw, and I know that I had confirmation from these two chuckleheads down here, and so it was one of those things, and I know what I've experienced, because some of the paranormal stuff I've experienced with other people too. And it's like, when the door slammed open, my wife was right there, and she was like, oh, she didn't even move. She was like, I told you. That's literally all she said. I told you. And I was like,
just like when we were down on Blanc Road and we saw what we saw out in the river. When we got back to the hotel room, and Doc sat there, and we were like, because even me being the person I am that has had experiences and has seen it, Doc will tell you, I was like, I'm not 100% sold yet.
Right.
I thought that I did, but I was like, because I told Doc, I said, well, could that have just been like a tree stump that was sitting there, and it was just with the way the current was moving around it, causing an optical illusion, making it look like it was coming towards us because it was moving against the current.
We tried to debunk it from the get-go, Robbie.
Yep. And so we called DA and we're like, we need to go back down there tomorrow and check that. And he said, well, we got stuff we got to do tomorrow. He said, but I'll send a buddy of mine that works in that county, send him down there.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent him down there, and sure enough, there was nothing out there when he went back in the daylight in that area. So if it'd been a tree stump or a tree root or anything like that, it would probably still been there. Nothing there.
Because I even said, I even said something like, well, it could have been a raccoon. And Robbie's like, a raccoon is like 3 feet tall. You know? I mean,
Right.
Walking on water?
yeah. I mean, that ain't normal, dude. Even still, that's kind of freaking weird.
Well,
Hey,
but
we
it's
got
funny.
flying bass. We got water striding raccoons. Missouri's a weird place, bro.
He was in a little pirogue. The raccoon was in a little pirogue out there working the river.
He was a Cajun raccoon in a pirogue.
Yeah. We're
Well,
going
I
to show
think
you
with-
this here.
I think with anybody who experiences anything weird, paranormal or cryptid wise, I think you have to own that. I think that, that's your story, that's your truth. I had put a clip of the recent interview I did. I put it up on TikTok, and I'm opening myself up to 100% criticism by doing that. And I'm aware of that, and I'm ready for that. So I had a gentleman who was commenting, and he said, if there's no footprints and you got no pictures, it's only a story and it didn't happen. And so I was like, look, I'm not going to be able to satisfy your unbelief. I know our truth, and that's just where I'm leaving it.
Hey, it's like the lady from Buckeye Bigfoot, Nance. She says, absence of proof is not proof of absence.
Exactly.
100%.
And I'm here to tell you, I am not going to cover myself in ticks in the Amazon jungle over there on the opposite side of the fence to see if there's any footprints or if there's any hair or if there's anything. I'm not going to do that.
Man,
So,
it's already been 2 rippling hours, man.
yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
Holy. What a show.
Hey, I got a new encounter sent to me. You guys want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is from another one from here in Missouri. My email address was given to him by a former friend of mine, a friend of mine that I used to work with at the sheriff's department. And so this guy is a retired sheriff's department, not from our department, but from a neighboring county, and he was riding 4-wheelers in the Mark Twain National Forest when he said, I didn't see what it was, but it threw a medium-sized pig at me.
Oh, my lands.
He said it was a good-sized feral pig, probably in excess of 100 pounds. He said it come flying out of the bushes. He said it was probably 8 feet off the ground and damn near took me off the 4-wheeler.
Good Lord.
When pigs fly.
That one flew. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I didn't stop for the pig, if that's what you mean. He says, I turned that thing around and got the hell out of there.
Don't blame
He
me.
said, because there ain't no people in the
Let me-
Mark Twain
let me
throwing
guess.
hogs at you.
Yeah.
Let me guess. He did a Doc J turn and unasked the AO.
He basically cut the wheels, gave it full throttle, and spun it around. But yeah, he said there are no people in the Mark Twain National Forest picking up wild feral hogs and throwing them at you.
Nobody's throwing wild bacon at you.
I said, was it alive? He said, well, it was squealing, but
Oh, hell.
that's a first.
Wow.
That's a first. I've heard of people getting rocks thrown at them. I've heard of people getting like
Oh,
pine
my
cones
God.
and tree branches and shit thrown at them. That is the first time I've ever heard somebody get a pig thrown at them.
I
You
wish
know,
I
as
could see
nasty
that.
as
What's
nasty
that?
as those things are, who'd have would have thrown one? I mean,
Oh,
kids will
kidding.
tear you apart.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Man, if that pig could talk.
Oh, I wish I could get an AI movie of that.
When pigs fly, he went wee all the way home.
Yep.
Can you imagine? You know, pigs are pretty intelligent. You know, can you imagine that the pig, assuming it survived, going back home to the other pigs, going, "You're not gonna believe this shit."
Let me tell you what happened to me today.
As he's flying through the air, he's like doing a Hank Hill. What the hell?
Damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
His exact phrase was, "I don't know what the living hell was going on, but I'm not going back.
Oh,
So I will find another place to ride my 4-wheeler."
like Vicky
No
Dennison
doubt.
said, the fast food.
That pig arrived by airmail.
Oh, my Lord, that's funny as all get
So
out.
my question, BA, is when we going?
Yeah.
Oh, I know right where it's at. He sent me the coordinates.
Richie Evans' comment here.
What did he say?
Sasquatch throwing a pig at a pig because it was a cop.
He was a retired pig. That part didn't register on me that the pig was getting thrown at a pig. That's funny.
That pig's got his air assault wings. He's doing airborne assault.
I'm going to hazard a guess to say the flying pig was probably a retired pig by the time it landed.
Yeah, it's an ex-pig for sure.
Holy crap, man. That's insane.
That's crazy.
How far is that from you, DA?
Do you remember that place I between here and Branson where I said if we turn off here, we would go up by Pensmore Castle?
Yep.
Yes.
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Right there, down by there where that shooting range is at.
So it's not even far by DA miles.
No, it's not far by DA miles. It's only about 25 miles.
Sorry, Robbie. I knew Robbie was going to get a kick out of that.
When Doc will explain that, whenever Doc was here, and Doc and Robbie was here back in January, Doc would say, how far is it? I said, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, and it'd be an hour and a half away. They started saying, now hang on a second, how far is this in DA miles?
Is this in real miles or is this in DA miles? Because we got to know the difference between the two. Because we're all old and we got to pee often. So.
Yeah, it's only 20 minutes away. I mean, I'll be in the back going, all right, wake me up when we get there in a couple hours.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness! What a great show this has been, man.
Hey, we got to talk about Ohio right quick before we.
Yes, I am going to post the link. Wayne, you want to talk a little bit about the festival in Ohio? I'll put the link up right now.
This is going to be the second year in a row that I have been a part of the festival in Ohio with Miss Susan. She does the Spirit of the Forest Bigfoot Festival. This year is going to be amazing. We have some awesome guests lined up. A couple of them on the panel tonight are going to be there, and we're going to be there and actually were there last year, myself included. D.A. Roberts and Robbie were there. And yeah, it's going to be an awesome time. I had a great time last year.
Miss Naoma was there too.
Miss Naoma was actually there as well. And yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to have everyone that attends is going to have an amazing time. I don't know exactly where it's going to be this year because it's not in
It's going to be at the Mercer
place,
County Fairgrounds is where she's having it this year, Wayne.
Okay. Very, very cool. But there's a website that you guys can go and check out and see all of the speakers that are going to be there, all the events and everything. It's going to be a great time, and I cannot wait.
Yep.
Russell Acorn's going to be there too.
That's right.
Are you doing your casting class again, Wayne?
Yeah. I will be doing the casting class, and Robbie, you'll be doing the tracking class, right?
Yep.
I'll be helping Robbie with that.
DA's going to help me with that, and then I assume DA and I'll be doing another speaking engagement or two there.
Yeah.
It's a good time if you're in the area and can go to it. You won't be disappointed. That was a really, really great time. It's one of the best conferences / festivals that I've ever been to. She did a really good job, and usually the first year you go to something like that, you don't really expect a whole lot of people there. And Friday was not great, but that Saturday they had to open up 2 or 3 different parking areas. That they
it was
because so many
packed.
people showed up. It was great. So if you're in the area, and
we met some really awesome folks there too.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be the 25th and 26th. If I'm not mistaken.
Just literally closed it, and I was gonna. God dang it! Let me open that back up, and I'll tell you the exact dates.
Okay.
I don't know why I closed it. I'm an idiot. Okay, October 24th and 25th.
Okay.
There you go.
And trying to talk old Doc into coming if he can work it out with his class time. So maybe
when is
Doc
that again?
October 24th and 25th.
Yeah, guys, if y'all are in the area and you can make it, you will not regret it. I promise.
You won't be disappointed. It's a really good time. I mean, she tries to make something for everybody, and in the spirit of that, she's actually opening up what we're going to call like a junior tracking class. So I'm going to have tracking class for kids like 10 and up.
Awesome.
We're going to do that too.
That's very cool.
And of course, there'll still be the adult version of the class too, but we're going to do a kids tracking class, which you had a lot of kids come to your casting class too, I think, didn't you, Wayne?
Yeah, we had several that came to it.
We're going to bring a bunch of pictures, and we're probably going to have a couple more expeditions out into the woods before October. So if you're coming to hear Wayne or us speak, count on there being a lot of cool stuff to show, because Wayne's going to be an LBL before then.
Yeah.
And
so God knows what kind of encounter he's going to be able to tell us about.
Yeah, man. Hopefully,
Wayne, if you go missing, have somebody give us a call. Me and Robbie will come look for you.
That's right. That's right. I definitely will.
I've really enjoyed hanging out with y'all.
Well, we've definitely enjoyed it. I've had a good time.
Great time.
Before we start winding things up, why don't you tell us a little bit about Bigfoot Report and all you guys' projects, because I know you got more than one project going. Tell us where we can find all that. The links are in the description for the show, and they'll also be popping up in the chat. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about that before we start winding down.
Yeah, go ahead, Tiff.
Oh, see, I muted myself to be respectful to you when you talk. I feel like I've done a lot of talking tonight. You can find us on right here on YouTube, the Bigfoot Report. We have a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it used to be every other Saturday, but it has turned into every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. We have a Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok. What else? What other pages do we have? I think that's all.
Good Lord, I don't know. There's so many.
I sent DA all the links.
They're in the description for the chat for the show. I mean,
yes, okay. And then we have recently started, since we have gone through the rebranding process of having Bigfoot encounter stories emailed to us, and we will go on and narrate them. Wayne takes the audio from those. They are put on YouTube. Wayne takes the audio from those and puts those on the podcast. So you can check that wherever you listen to your podcast at as well. So we have a whole lot of different things going on. We have a members only. You can join our membership for $1.99 a month, and it gives you just tons and tons of extra little perks. So we have a whole lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, just if you guys don't mind, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday, except for this one because we're on with these guys. Every Saturday, we're on at 10 p.m. Eastern. We do live shows. We have guests on. We, as Tiffany said, we have members only that we do shows as well. And yeah, we're a family. If you want to be a part of a Bigfoot family that is behind each other and just does a lot of cool stuff, please give us a consideration.
Definitely, folks, give them a like, share, and subscribe. Show them some love. They're just like us. They're a family, and we put the fun in dysfunctional.
That's right. Amen, brother.
Absolutely.
Well, Wayne, Tiffany, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We got to do it again. I had a ball, and we definitely need to do it again.
Yeah, it was super, super fun.
And I look forward to hanging out with you in October at 2 different shows.
I can't wait, man. It's going to be
a hoot, dude. It's going to be awesome. Folks, as we start winding things down, again, make sure you go over and hit like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out some of our affiliates. You check out Dark Angel Medical. Use discount code CRYPTED20 for 20% off your entire order. And they're not just the best kits in the business. They're kits that will save your life with over 200 saves to date. 205. So if you're going to carry a med kit, carry a good one, because the life you save may very well be your own.
Right.
Also, check out the good folks over at sigwoarms.com. If you're looking for anything, you can custom build or suppressor, or even having your own personal items engraved or customized, check out sigwoarms.com. They do fantastic work, and they're going to be having an entire line of codename Wild Hunt ARs, uppers, and lowers. So look for those coming soon. I'll have one to show off to you here before too terribly long. Check out Tiffany's books. Yeah, she said you can find them basically anywhere paperbacks are sold. That includes Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can find Robbie and my books there as well, or you can find mine at daroberts.net. And join us this Tuesday when we're going to be Robbie and I will be taking part in the 50th episode for the good folks over at Old Line Cryptids. This will be their 50th show, so we're going to be joining them to help them celebrate that. Should be a hoot and a half, because those guys are always a hoot. Love hanging out with those guys. And join us this coming Wednesday night as Daniel Hamilton from the Crypted podcast joins us, and he's going to be talking about some of his experiences and things that have happened to him, and it should be a great time then as well. So as we start winding things down, there's one thing that I always like to mention.
One other thing, DA. I got a response from what I was talking to you about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If any of you have heard of the Monsters Lounge podcast, Tressa and I think the other lady's name is Jenna. We're working on getting them on the show too. That ought to be a pretty cool show.
Sweet.
That ought to be a lot of fun. But folks, as we start winding things down, there's something that I like to talk about at the end of every show, and you all know, well, you all have been here more than once, you know this is coming. But I like to mention the 22 a Day Foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many. So, reach out to your friends and family who are veterans or who've been in the military, first responders, anybody that's worn a uniform and put their ass on the line. Reach out to those folks and let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you care, because you never know. When that 2 a.m. "Hey fucker, are you awake?" text is just a cry for help. And most of these guys in this chat tonight have gotten that text from me, and I've also gotten it from them. So just remember, the people that sometimes seem like they don't need it the most are the ones that do. Check on your friends and family and let them know you care about them. Let them know you're thinking about them, and let them know that they've got a place to turn to, that nobody should have to fight these demons alone. And at least 22 times a day, the demons are winning. And let's get that number down to 0.
Yes.
That's very near and dear to me. I've buried too many friends under that folded flag, and I'm hoping the next time I see that folded flag, it'll be on my coffin.
Wow.
It gets harder every time, and I'm gonna turn this over to Doc, because don't forget to keep praying for Miss Lene. She's on the mend. She's with us tonight. She's doing a lot better, but keep her in your prayers. She's still healing, and Doc's got something personal he'd like to share before he closes it out with our toast. So grab a glass of something, get ready to toast with us.
Okay.
Yeah, and if y'all could please say a good prayer for my buddy Bill. I've known him for 16 years. He was in a catastrophic motorcycle accident up in Oregon almost 2 weeks ago. He's an old cowboy, salt of the earth, good dude, great dude, one of the most honorable men I've ever known. And they have exercised his do not resuscitate order, his DNR order, and he's on his own now, and he's in God's hands. So if y'all would just please say a prayer for him and his family as he enters this next stage and moves on to another plane. So, but as we end this night, we're going to end it with this old Irish drinking song, and it's called "The Parting Glass." And this is an excerpt from it. So raise your glass, whatever you have in it, take you off your hats, and here we go. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be to you all. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.